The key to beating A&M. Is it going to come down to a freshman? It just might. LockedOn Gamecocks starts right now.
You are Locked On Gamecocks, your daily podcast on the South Carolina Gamecocks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Locked On Gamecocks. I'm your host, Chris Marler. We've got a full week. Let me make a promise to you right now. I am so tired of the bye week. So tired of the bye week. 2 bye weeks in a season. I don't know what to say. We get done last Thursday. It's like, do we do a Friday show? Do we talk about prep and games? I don't know. But the promise I would make to you right now, I'm going to be in your feed like political ads. Not as divisive and miserable and awful, but I'm going to be in your feed every day. We're going to do 5 straight shows this week. We got a couple guests that are coming on. We got Gamecock Will coming on. We got to go over some stuff, make sure he doesn't do anything inappropriate when he comes on. But nonetheless, we are going to have a phenomenal week of shows, and it's going to be capped off. I'm going to say it right now on this Monday. It's going to be capped off with a dub on Saturday, and I can't wait. Texas A&M comes to town. I'm already fired up. I know y'all are fired up. Let me tell you who else is fired up, and that is every single one of you that is making a locked-on Gamecock commitment to listening to the podcast as your first listen each and every day. We appreciate you. Shout out to our everydayers. Remember, we are a free and available podcast wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Very dramatic, very theatrical. Also, want to give a shout out to our friends at FanDuel. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. And listen, we're going into the month of November, right? It's the last month of the regular season, but you can still start the season with a big return on FanDuel. We've got basketball season starting up. We got the NBA, I think, already started somehow. NHL, all sorts of things that you can be dabbling in. And new customers, would you place a $5 bet? You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's right, $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Let's get into some stuff about Texas A&M, okay? I'm already fired up over this. I got into it today with a Barstool employee that is a Texas A&M fan. I'm not even going to say her name. But truly said, I think, just to be honest, one of the most ignorant things I've heard about college football this season, and it pissed me off. And here's the thing I always say about sports in general and doing this job. If we're going to talk about college football or sports, we're going to do it from a factual standpoint and in reality. We can give hot takes and opinions and all sorts of stuff like that. One thing I am not going to ever do is get in front of a camera or a microphone and start spouting off things that I know nothing about, okay? I might say names incorrectly. I might recite something incorrectly, but there is no chance in hell I am ever going to come on a podcast, a radio show, TV, any of those things, without having at least looked up a semblance or an ounce of statistical and factual information before I start opening my big dumb mouth. And that's exactly what this person did. And it pissed me off. Flat out. Going into the LSU game last week, got all fired up because A&M's playing LSU. Obviously, A&M, huge win. Congrats to them. Like, huge win for them. I work for ESPN Baton Rouge. It's my primary job. And like I tell you, like the mood and the vibes from LSU fans going into that game was very, very confident, bordering on the edge of arrogance of just, we're going to win that game. And that's what happens in college football. That's why you play the games. But the comment that was made was talking about how LSU hadn't played a good defense all year. And they included by name South Carolina. And it just, I know it fired a lot of y'all up. I know it fired, to be honest, I think it probably fired up people on the team because I'm sure they saw the clip as well. Barstool's a massive, massive platform. I don't dislike Barstool at all. What I dislike is when somebody gets in front of a camera or a microphone and just starts saying things just the same. Feinbaum is great. Love Paul to death. Been on his show a bazillion times. There's a difference between saying stuff to incite a reaction and troll a fan base versus I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm going to make damn sure I say it anyway. And that's absurd to me. South Carolina going to this game is not anyone's doormat. South Carolina is not anyone's team to walk all over and disrespect and whatever. Part of me wishes this game was being played in Kyle Field. Would it make me more nervous for Lenora Sellers and company? Absolutely. Would I also love the fact that you would get to go into Kyle Field and potentially shut up 107,000 A&M fans? Absolutely. And also, I know how great they've played on the road. This is a big game. This is a big game, and you're going to have the eyes of the nation on you because you get the night game. You're in a great spot. This is let's make no bones about it. This is a program-defining opportunity that you have on Saturday. It is a program-defining opportunity. Do you remember how big the close of the 2022 season was? The Tennessee win, the Clemson win on the road. Those were massive, massive wins for Shane Beamer and company. The program itself is further along now than it was then, right? Not all of us believe maybe that Dow Loggins is an elite play caller. He's damn sure better than the last guy we had, right? Clayton White is an elite defensive play caller. This is an elite defense. And on Saturday, they have to come into Williams-Brice. They have to come into your house, and you have a chance to make an absolute statement with a win over a top 10 national team. There's a saying that Les Miles used to say, and I think it needs to be adopted this week by Shane Beamer and company. Les Miles said this one time in 2007. I think it was after the Auburn game. I think it was. He said, "This is Death Valley. This is where dreams come to die." And that's what Williams-Brice has to be on Saturday. It might sound dramatic. It might sound too aggressive. I don't care. As anybody that's listened to this podcast for the last 4 months knows, that's exactly probably two of the best ways to describe me. Dramatic and over whatever it is. Excessive or aggressive or whatever. It's a big opportunity, man. It's a really big opportunity. And I think they're going to be ready. Now, there's some keys to this game. There's some keys to this game that I think we have to get into, and we're going to get into it throughout the week. All right. But there are some keys to this game and some things that worry me flat out. Now, right off the bat, we're going to get into like the surface level stuff of this game and not even into the numbers yet. You're going to get some deep dives this week. I'll tell you that. That is for damn sure. This is, but you know, right off the bat, I love Kirk Herbstreit. Great dude. But he said some things this weekend that I think, listen, I don't think he said anything that was like trying to take a shot at South Carolina, but he was very excited about Marcel Reed's performance on Saturday. And here's the thing, but I know I saw some South Carolina fans upset about it and like take it personally, and that's fine. You need to have a chip on your shoulder going into this game. I totally get it. I want to explain this. I feel like on behalf of like no part of me is upset with what he said about Marcel Reed. Kirk Herbstreit, his kids played high school football with Marcel Reed. Like he was the quarterback of their high school football team. So of course he's excited to see his opportunity, and he excelled on Saturday. Honestly, man, Wickman came in that Missouri game, and it was bizarre to watch because it was like, dude, the guy you replaced was great. He had like 8 touchdowns, no turnovers. Like feels like a budding star. Dual threat, hard to prepare for. And I think that he's a good thrower for one. Like he's a better thrower than people give him credit for. But I get where Herbstreit's coming from. And he made the comment about like how the SEC is got to be scared or something along those lines of what they're gonna have to face with Marcel Reed. Okay. Like, I mean, here's the thing. I'm not trying to diminish how good he is. I think he's a really, really good player and has a chance to be a star in this league. I really do. But they see it every day. Like that's literally what the 1s and 2s for South Carolina are going up and against every day in practice. It's a dual threat quarterback that is a pretty good thrower of the football, and that's it. Like, I don't think South Carolina is going to be intimidated in this game defensively by A&M. Now, leave you here hanging with a little bit of a teaser going into the next segment. Offensively, there are some things to be concerned about. And I think that possibly the key to this game might hinge on a freshman, maybe a number of freshmen. And that's all I'll say as of right now. Now, before we get into which freshman or which number of freshmen it may be, I do want to tell you one more time about our friends at FanDuel. Listen, like I said, we're going into like the last month of the season here. I hope you guys have been following along with picks all season long and definitely doing it on FanDuel, which is America's #1 sportsbook. But listen, right now, they've got yet another cool thing going where if you bet $5, you can win $150 in bonus bets. You just have to win your first bet. I'm going to walk you through this. We have been, I think, like 7-2 on the year in our locks of the week. So tail me and maybe play. I'll do some digging this week, and this weekend we'll all try to, I don't even know what number that would be, 30 times our money. Good grammar as always out of me. But right now, again, if you are a new customer, you can bet $5. You can win $150 in bonus bets if you win on FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, college, any of that stuff, all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, when we come back, we are going to continue talking about this game and what it means to South Carolina and what are the important pieces and matchups that are going into it. Locked on Gamecocks continues next. All right, let's get into this. Here's where I'm concerned for this game. I think that so much of the game between LSU and A&M going into it was kind of focused on the offensive line for LSU versus the defensive line in A&M, and that makes sense. I've said this repeatedly all week. Like that's where the eyes of like a lot of fans are going to go. It's where the eyes of like the NFL scouts are going to go. All that kind of stuff. Nick Scorton, big defensive end, the transfer from Purdue, going up against Will Campbell, Emory Jones. Those are two bona fide first-rounder picks at left and right tackle. And they were going into a hornet's nest, man. Like, listen, Kyle Field was awesome. It was awesome last week. Again, this is not being played in Kyle Field, so we can wipe that out immediately. Kyle Field was awesome. I think LSU had 5 penalties. I believe 4 or 5 of them were like Herb Street said in the broadcast. They had 5 pre-snap penalties. They only ended up with 5 total. So it leads me to believe that it maybe was like 4 pre-snap penalties, something like that during the game. But either way, you're going up against an LSU offensive line in that game that had only allowed 2 sacks all season, and they were both against South Carolina. So in their other 6 games, like they didn't allow a sack in 6 of their other 7 games. They allowed 2 all year. I mean, that's incredible. Like you would think it would lead lead the country in fewest sacks allowed. You have to take into account there's like, triple option teams like Navy and stuff that they have like 1, right? But either way, very, very impressive. They allowed 2 this weekend. They both came in the second half, late in the third or fourth quarter when A&M started seizing momentum and all that kind of stuff. So here's what concerns me. Will Campbell is a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. Will Campbell is a very, very good he's a very, very good player, okay? he's a junior. I think he's started every game since he's been a freshman. Emory Jones is kind of the same way. He's like a third or fourth year guy. I don't know off the top of my head, but both of them are bona fide first round picks. Okay. Josiah Thompson, need you big time in this one. If I am Mike Elko and company, because this is the one thing that Elko does better than a lot of other coaches. Like I don't think anybody expected A&M to turn around this fast. No one expected it. I don't think even in College Station expected them to be leading the SEC standings at all, right? But they're here and they're not going anywhere. Like that is the one thing about a place like that. It's similar to Tennessee in that way, or in Texas, really, where it's like, and maybe more so Texas than Tennessee, but it's like once they've arrived, the scary part about a program like that is they're not going anywhere because they have the things that are built in place to be sustainable in this day and age of college football. Like the NIL era, I said this over and over and over again, was going to bring back some dormant programs to glory. Miami, look at Miami now. It's when you combine hungry and frustratedly hungry boosters of a program, along with a past sense of like pride, tradition, and winning more than anything, you get a like powder keg that's ready to boom and blow up, because it's like, listen, we've already tasted what this can be like. We want this again. We're tired of losing these people. And if you don't think A&M is going to start raising even more money after Texas came in, they are so tired of being little brother. They'll go out of their way to make sure they still look like little brother. They have no self-awareness from a fan base standpoint at all, which is fine. But that is a powder keg of a program that is ready to ignite because of how deep the pockets are and everything. You look in the backyard. It's not like South Carolina. This is the one probably the biggest detriment to the potential of a program here in this state, is because it's like you have to recruit at a national level. That's why you see Beamer going up, getting guys out of the DC area and 5-stars out of other places, because you just don't have a ton of those growing on trees in South Carolina, right? Like you have to take advantage of it when you have a good bumper crop of recruits, because they're few and far between. You average between about 4 and 6 4 and or 5-stars combined in the state's recruiting class every single year. That's it. So A&M has the benefit of being able to go in the backyard and getting all that kind of stuff. Here's the thing. They are really good at disguising blitzes, getting after the quarterback, and then coverage blitzes as well, which is like, listen, you have Des Ricks, former 5-star playing quarterback, playing really, really good football right now. I don't know who he's going to match up on. It's going to be a one-on-one. Like, he was on Kyron Lacey for most of the night on Saturday. I don't know if they're going to move him around, have him shadow one guy for South Carolina. I doubt they do. But the thing is, they have such a good and deep defensive line. Shamar Turner, Shamar Stewart, I think those are the names. I can't remember. I know that you have former 5-stars galore and elite recruits on that front four. Nick Scorton might not have been a 5-star recruit. He is going to be a first-round draft pick, and he probably just solidified it on the tape that he put out on Saturday against Will Campbell and company. So if you're South Carolina, how do you win this game? You have got to figure out a way to keep Lenora Sellers upright. You have got to figure out a way. You just have to. You know, they went to Oklahoma and gave up, I think it was like 6-7 sacks in that game. Oklahoma, they also got 9 sacks in that game. Oklahoma's not a good offensive line. They've given up 39 sacks in 8 games. It's almost 5 a game. They've given up 22 in the last 3 games combined. So you got to tip your cap to South Carolina for getting after the quarterback. And here's the thing too: the 9 sacks from 9 different people is absurd. Like, that's an absurd stat. You have got to figure out a way to keep Lenora Sellers upright. I think Dowell Loggins, if you're listening, which sorry again for doubting after the Ole Miss game, I will also say we cannot have a repeat of what happened in Ole Miss game. That's the second biggest concern I have, is coming off the bye week. Because you had this situation before, almost the exact same. It's just the sun was out. This is a night game, but you're coming off a bye week. You're at home. You got a ranked opponent, top 10 team coming in. You lost 27-3 to Ole Miss. Now, granted, that Ole Miss team is kind of a nightmare matchup for South Carolina because they get after the quarterback's ass nonstop all game long. They have a great front four, just like you're going to see this weekend. They also have one of the best offenses in the country. A&M doesn't have one of the best offenses in the country. I think Marcel Reed is good. I think Marcel Reed is very good. What he did on Saturday is incredible. Came in, led the offense to 5 straight scoring drive. He also got the benefit of having a second half where, like LSU. LSU had 3 turnovers. Here's a stat for you. LSU had 3 turnovers in the second half of that game. They had 2 in the second quarter alone. Garrett Nussmeier just collapsed. Quicksand. It was, or avalanche or snowball, however you want to phrase it. It was bad. So you got to avoid that. You got to figure out a way to avoid that. It's so simple how to win this game. Keep Lenore Sellers clean. Avoid turnovers. We've gone over it repeatedly. You're 20-6 when you win the turnover battle. You're 3-15 when you don't. Very simple stuff. You just got to execute it. So if Dowell Loggins is paying attention, and I'm sure they looked at this in the bye week, and I'm sure the coaching staff probably met last Saturday night to sit there and dissect every single ounce of that tape from that game. You got a very competent team coming into Williams-Brice. You've got pass rushers that are going to try to get upfield. And they have to admittedly be licking their chops at what they're going to be facing because South Carolina's offensive line has been really bad this year. Really bad. You know how you get a defensive line from getting upfield after the quarterback over and over and over again? Figure out some ways to make them, run pass plays, shovel passes, screen passes, draws, things like that. You got to figure out a way to keep this defense on its toes and figure out a way to not turn the football over. This is a winnable game. And if you don't believe me, Vegas has already told you it is. Okay? Think about this. A&M is 7-1. 7-1, right? They're 7-1 this season. Right? Yeah. The one loss was in week 1 in Notre Dame at home. Connor Wegman was the quarterback, right? They're coming in off a win against a top 10 opponent where they won by 15 points. And Vegas said, okay, you're a 4-point favorite. The line's already dropped down to 3.5. This is a winnable game. Every game on the schedule, the rest of the year is a winnable game. Before we even get into this, I told everyone on here, if you were ranking these games in terms of how difficult they would be from a winnability standpoint, I told you Mizzou was well behind A&M. This was going to be, outside of Clemson, the toughest game on the schedule. Vandy's going to be tough. I told you Mizzou is a shell of himself, especially without that quarterback. So those are the keys to winning. Josiah Thompson. You gotta play out of your mind, brother. You gotta play out of your mind. Dylan Stewart, same for you. That's the other matchup that is a little bit concerning because you talk about an A&M or offensive line that's only allowed 11 sacks this year. It's 4th best in the SEC. It's 4th best, and it's behind Georgia and Florida, who've played 1 less game. So they did allow 3 to LSU. LSU's got a good defensive front. They don't have the same kind of front that South Carolina has. They just don't. So we'll get into that. What? I'm upset, or the GF is upset about the background. What is this? Well, how about we just talk about when I'm not recording? How about that? All right, guys, we'll cut the show here short because I have to go do some chores, apparently, before I get myself in trouble. Before we do any of that, it's just live radio. We are going to talk about our friends at Game Time. And if you are getting into the stadium this weekend, I cannot recommend getting on the Game Time app more than ever. It is the one-stop shop for everything a fan truly needs when trying to purchase tickets. Listen, this weekend's going to be a blast, man. I don't know. I'm still in Atlanta. I'm coming back to Columbia next week. Spectrum, you better get your blank together. But I will be back next week. I don't know if the State Fair is still in town or going on, or whatever. I do know that all eyes in the country and in that city are going to be on the bright, weird stadium lights and unique stadium lights of Williams-Brice Stadium. And if you are trying to get in to Williams-Brice and Willie B and be a part of what's going to happen on Saturday night, you have to get over to Game Time. Listen, this game is going to be awesome. And if you use Game Time, I guarantee your experience will be as well. It makes it easier than ever to save on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. All-in pricing. They have a feature on there. It's my favorite thing like in the world, outside of throw pillows and being able to clean those up. You know what I mean, guys? All-in pricing. If you toggle this feature, it shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. There's no one else doing that besides Game Time app. They have seat views. You can get a panoramic seat view from your seat in the app before you buy, so you can see exactly what you're going to be looking at inside the stadium, from outside the stadium, or the comfort of your own home, or wherever you are buying these tickets with the Game Time app. It also has the lowest price guarantee. This is also really cool. If you find somewhere else that somehow has a cheaper get-in price and tickets for those seats, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And also, last but not least, and maybe the most important thing, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the entire ticketing industry. Guys, it's really is a game. It's a ticketing service for fans and consumers. Thank you for that. And they do a better job than anyone getting people into a game on time with the Game Time app. They love their fans. I'm telling you, you're going to love them as well. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets, Game Time picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LockedOnCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but again, create an account, redeem the code LockedOnCollege, LOCK, goodness, EDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time app today. What time is it? Game time. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. We're going to leave too, though, where this is going to be a quick little sign off here. Life calls, duty calls. There are some throw pillows I got to fluff and put on the couch before I get put outside. So that is just about as honest as I can be. I appreciate you guys joining us for today's episode. We're going to get into so much of this game throughout the week. Like I said, we're going to have multiple deep dives. I got the defensive deep dive coming per some requests that are coming. We're going to have 5 straight days of content coming your way because this is a big game and we're fired up for it. I cannot wait. Saturday night, 7:30 under the lights. Listen, you have just an opportunity that I can't even stress enough how big of an opportunity it is. Like we've talked about this before. I've talked about last week on a show. If you're ranking the wins that you would want to have in these last 5 games, obviously Clemson's number 1. Shut those weirdos up. But listen, this is spit. This is A&M it's basically Clemson. It's SEC Clemson. So weird cult of weird fans that are really into themselves and want to tell you all about how great their school is. And every time they do, you're like, ooh, none of that sounds great at all. It's like someone telling me about the Saw movies. Listen, I get it's Halloween. I don't want to see it. It sounds terrible. It sounds like Auburn with a lake or something that's going to haunt my dreams, or both in this case with Saw movies and Clemson and A&M. So that is all we have for today. I'm going to go get these throw pillows in fluffed and back on the couch. I appreciate you guys. Love you guys. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your Monday, if that's even possible. And we will be back tomorrow morning with an early episode, trying to catch the drive-in crowd. And to talk about this game. If you have any hot takes on this game, if you have anything you want me to look up a part of the deep dive, you let me know. I will promise you this. Like I said, we're going to have consistent shows this week. We're going to have some good shows this week. We're going to have some guests this week. And we are going to win you some money with our friends at FanDuel as well. Already said I love you. So that'll be it. You guys have a great afternoon. We'll talk to y'all soon. Go Cox.